Hello, my name is Stephanie Toman, and this is a video covering the document setup area of the Advanced Word Processing Qualification, the ICDL. We're using Word 2016, but you can use Office 365, no problems there. So this one's going to be looking at areas such as different heading sections. So it's back to sort of long documents or dissertation areas really. So you can have different header sections. You can by breaking the link to previous before, if you put your name into a header, that name would be in every header, whereas we can actually break that down and do different ones. We can do different section numbering, obviously in a dissertation or a report project. You might have to change the numbering, pagination numbering, as you go through it and manipulate it. So it takes you through that area as well. And there's vertical alignment, how to put things properly in the centre on a cover page, for example, whereas you're not using the enter, enter, enter. So hopefully this will help with regards to the qualification, or if you just want to catch up on something that you'd like to learn, then hopefully if you search the videos you'll find what you need. Okay, thank you.
Hi, so I'm going to continue with the advanced word, and we're using the lecture materials. We're still in week 2 and we're going to cover the document setup and the tables next. We've already done these 2 in the previous video. So the video is the second series in the week 2. So if we open up the document setup folder, make sure you have got the same sort of things as I have. Open up the first one and we're going to look at how we can do different header sections. Normally when we've done headers in the past, if you've done ICDL with us, or if you do a dissertation or something, you want to put your name, file name, etc. on every single header, then you do it in the first header, don't you? And then normally it comes out. You click away, double click out of the document, and you can see that that header is in every page. So what we're going to do in Word is we're going to think about some different things that we can do, how we can do different things to different areas. And if we look at the blurb just at the beginning of here, you can say that in Word you can actually do different things about the page layout, about the numbering, about using sections. Do you remember previous video, if you did do that with me, you've got this section on the status bar here. Section 1, do you remember how we brought it up? Right click on the status bar and then you can click on sections. And you can go to, so if you do Control and G, and you go to a section, you can find a section, clicking through, you go to and close, and this is section 3. So you can see that that's a really quick way of going around. I know a lot of you use Control G and use the page numbering. And you can do this in a test as well to take you somewhere really quickly. So there's many sections that can appear in a document. We're going to have a little look at some of them, and you've got some things here about margins, vertical alignment, headers and footers, columns. So we're going to look at all of that. Portrait landscape's another thing. So the first thing we're going to do is going to look at this show and hide feature here. So the show paragraph marks and other hidden formatting symbols, and this will tell us what's going on in the back of the document. So the paragraph marks are obviously your enters, your returns, carriages, and then you've got your dots for spaces. And then you'll see things like a section break for next page. We can scroll down, a section break for next page. So in the layout tab at the top here, we have these breaks. Section breaks are a bit different to page breaks. Page breaks completely break that page from the previous one. Section breaks mean that you can do different things to different text within those sections. You could change the margins on one page if you section it off. You could change the orientation on a page if you section it off, which would be really good if you had a diagram in your dissertation and you wanted to do it on a landscape page. So you can section things off and do different things. So let's explore that together and have a look at that. So the first thing we're going to do is we go to the very first page. You can see if I bring this down that this is sort of at the top of the page. A little bit too down, I think, for you. Let's see if we can get that a little bit better. That's it. So you can see that it's towards the top of the page. We know it's got a section in it, and I click within the section. You can see it's on section 1. You can see my cursors there. And I'm going to use something called vertical alignment. This is something that you'd use on your cover page. We'll have another look at it in a moment, but just quickly, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to vertically align this centrally in the middle of that document paper, that sheet. So I'm going to go into page or layout, used to be page layout. Make sure go into the launcher area. And then it's how it's laid out on the page. Always remember that, helps you get to the next tab. And then you can see the vertical alignment, one of the syllabus areas within the document setup. Drop that down to center. That means we're going to move it from the top towards the center of the document. It's applying to this section only because remember, I made sure that my cursor was in that section here and it showed in section 1 there. So if I OK, that then drops down and is now vertically aligned. If you didn't have that section break there, then it would vertically align the whole document and you would see it whoosh in front of you and you definitely notice there was something very odd about it. Okay, so be really careful in the exam that you only apply it to a particular section. Another thing we can do is we talked about putting sections in and isolating a page. So we've got page section 2 here. You can see this section there. We've got page 2 of 6. So we're in the section 2. And we can isolate this to be a diagram page, like could be our orientation in landscape. So if we move to the landscape and apply it, that page now could be used for a diagram, couldn't it? It's been sectioned off using this, the one in front as well. And guess what? There's another one there. So it's isolated it. If we look at section 3, the next one, we could change the margins on this. So you could go to the margins, custom margins, and you can make that, let's make it 5 at the top, so you can see it clearly. Notice it's on this section again. There are other options, but just be aware that this is this section for the exam. Okay, and notice how that one has a big margin, but others don't. Hasn't applied. That one's centralized vertically, okay? So you can see how you can do different things in different sections. Another thing we can do is if you double click into the header and type your name, then you're obviously going to see it on the next page and the next page. What if you don't want to see it on the next page? So we want something in here, but we don't want it to follow on to the next. So if we go to page 2 and we click on there, watch this feature here called Link to Previous. And this is how it links to the next page and the next page, so you get that same consistency of the name appearing on every page. So when I highlight this Stephanie here, Link to Previous lights up. I can now break that link by selecting it, and it's no longer linked to the first page, so I can go back and change that to my second name. Notice when you go back, that still stayed as Stephanie, and the ones that follow it have stayed as Stephanie. So we want to break that link again between page 2 and 3. So go to page 3 because it's talking about linking to previous. Watch it light up. There it is. Break the link. Go to page 2 and change it to whatever you want. Computer. Doesn't really matter. Just so that you can see it work. Then when you go down, that stays on Stephanie, and that's changed. And then you could go on and on and on. Now this would be unusual. Some people do put chapter headings in their headers, but that can get tricky. Just be careful how you use it. It is worth knowing that you can break these sequences in headers and footers. Let's close that document. I'm not going to save it. Now let's have a look at this second one called different section numbering. This is an area in the exam that's more than likely going to come up. So we're thinking about this linking to previous again. If we apply it to our dissertations, we're thinking about when we want to change from Roman numerals and go into pagination of 1, 2, 3. So you can break the sequence between the two. But remember, sections play a role in this. Otherwise, if you haven't got sections, you can't do things. So we double click on this one here and go into the footer. If we were asked to put in some page numbers that are center aligned, and we want them to, let's pop that in, we want them in there, center aligned, but we don't want a page number on page one, so this could be your cover page, so you don't want it on there. We're not going to use this feature, different first page. We're going to use the link into previous to do this. It's much more professional. And the reason we're going to do that is we want to make page 2 become the first page, so that would become 1. So what we're doing is we're putting in pagination numbers, center aligned. We're going to remove the 1 and we're going to change the 2 to start at 1. So it should run then through to the next one and the next one. So how do we do that? Remember, we've got to go to the second page so that we break the link to the first one. So we click on the 2 and notice that when you do the link to previous lights up, you break the link by clicking on it, go to the page 1, and you now can delete it without affecting page 2. No longer linked. Go back to page 2 and you can right click and reformat it using that way. Or you can go back to the way you used earlier through the design tab here that comes up when we get into the footer. And you can drop that down and you can use the format page numbers that way. Either way works. Click in the start at, it automatically goes on to 1. We're happy with that. You could change it if necessary. Click on 1. Now there is no number on page 1, but there are numbers 1, 2, 3, etc. on the other pages. So let's just close that down. I'll save, and I'm going to just do that one more time. So let's open it together. You've got yours still open, you haven't done it, or you're just watching me, that's fine. So I've gone in, I've double clicked into the footer. Notice the design tab comes up, which gives me my option for page numbers. I'm going to drop a page number at the bottom of the document, that's where I am, and center it. So there it is. I'm going to break the link between the 2 and the 1. So I'm going to page 2, click on the 2, notice the link to previous light up, break the link by clicking it, go to page 1, delete the 1, and then go back to page 2, right click, and format page numbers to start at 1. And there you've done. Okay, so that's one way, take show and hide off. You can see that's how you can do it. If you've got a cover page, that would be really useful. And then if you were going on to change the pagination, you just make sure you break the link to previous. If we go into here, see if we can break the link to previous. Okay, and then if I start, I format that to be that. You can see that now that has started, but obviously you do it the other way around when you're in your dissertation, but it's really good to know how to take those sections out. So I'm just going to close that. Don't save. And we're just going to have another quick look at the vertical alignment that we did. So if you get a question, they ask you to centrally align something vertically or vertically centrally align something. Remember, you need to have your sections on. If you haven't, you can right click and pop it on. You need to put your cursor in that section. You could click on the picture, you could click on there, as long as it's in the section. You come down here and click there. Is it in the section anymore? Still in section 1. That's okay. So we're still there. So this is the one that's going to be vertically aligned. So we'll go to layout, remember. Think about how it's laid out on the page. Click in there. Bring up your page setup. Click on layout. And we're going to do centrally aligned to this section only. We're not going to do it to the whole document. OK it through. And then you can see that it's slightly aligned. If you take out picture, let's just use the show and hide and let's see what's going on. Here we go. Centrally aligned, you can see it's quite very much in the middle. Okay, so let's close that. Remember that one for the exam.